it. Woo woo! 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 Miss Piggy.
Sound like a Piggy.
Before Miss Piggy starts, I just want to say I did a resident reflection almost exactly to the day 6 years ago, and it was at the height of COVID, no audience. Those doors were closed, and I was filmed and shown on the in-house TV. No one in the audience except Carmen. I don't know how she snuck in.
Oh my word.
So it's such a relief to see chairs occupied.
Carmen, were you going against the rules? No?
I just knew how to do the record.
Oh, okay.
Against the rules.
Oh, Carmen would not do that. Oh,
Nancy,
yes.
have you done that presentation?
We've started it.
I found a piece. Remember we took it apart?
Yes, oh, you found a piece?
I'll bring it up.
Okay, all right. Oh, oh.
Last summer, Covenant residents, friends, and family helped Miss Piggy raise a few dollars, just short of $1,500 for the Covenant Benevolent Care Fund.
All right.
She rode 500 miles. No, 504 miles. And she's very happy she's not doing it this summer. For this reflection, I had planned to interview the beautiful Miss Piggy and learn all about her biking adventures and misadventures. But I've come to find out that late last fall, the Highway Patrol received calls from citizens about a lovely pig in a fancy dress and long white gloves biking south on the shoulder of 35W. These calls started to come in from Minnesota and were followed by reports that she was seen biking through states south of us, all the way down to Florida.
Oh.
The Highway Patrol thought these were scams and never investigated, but I know it was Miss Piggy getting out of Minnesota before our winter weather set in. I emailed her and she replied she had no time to be interviewed as she was busy in St. Petersburg, Florida, performing for a group called SSSS, Sal's Synchronized Swimming Show.
Oh.
Pigs are quite excellent swimmers. I'd love to see them perform since their show is certainly unique. If you're going to be in that part of Florida, make sure you see them, and if you tell Miss Piggy that Kit sent you, maybe you'll get a free ticket. Since Miss Piggy is not available for reflection, as her alter ego, I'll fill in for her. I grew up in Cincinnati, Ohio, a city built on 7 hills, as is Rome. The city is named after Cincinnatus, a Roman leader who embodied civic virtue. In the mid to late 1800s, it was more commonly known, instead of Cincinnati, Porkopolis. Many herds of pigs, which were brought to Cincinnati from all over the country, were slaughtered. Some of my ancestors may have eaten some of Miss Piggy's family. My following reflection will consist of memories of my 3 biking adventures and misadventures. Some adventures turned into misadventures, and some misadventures became wonderful adventures. Next slide. I first biked on a two-wheeler when I was probably around 5.5. I pestered my sweet dad to let me ride my oldest sister's beautiful Huffy bike. Here we go. He lifted me up and placed my feet on the pedals as I was too short to reach the seat. He gave me a mighty push down our sidewalk, which went down one of Cincinnati's hills, and yelled, "Pedal, kitty, pedal!" Well, I watched my older sister's bike, so I knew I had to keep those pedals a-turning. I wobbled and tipped and swerved as I started down the hill, but I managed to stay upright. I went past the empty lot, the Hidden's house, and the Glovers, then the Ministers. I flew past the Roper's house, and then past homes of people I didn't know, and Daddy was yelling, "Brake, kitty, brake!" But he hadn't shown me how to brake. I knew coming up was a large intersection with a stoplight. Then ahead of me, I saw a huge old lilac hedge lining the sidewalk. So I ran the bike into it and came to a very, very abrupt stop. The owners would scratch their heads when they saw their handsome shrubbery crumpled, and I was more than crumpled. Scratches decorated any exposed skin, and I had a bleeding lip, but I now knew how to ride a two-wheeler. When I was given my own small two-wheeler, Daddy made sure I knew how to brake. We kids biked everywhere. The Cincinnati hills were a challenge, but hard work going up was rewarded by the thrill of going down. And that's when I was glad I knew how to use the brakes, so I wouldn't have another misadventure. Next slide. Biking took a backseat during college, then a demanding non-traditional career and single parenthood. I again got back in the saddle after my boys and I camped in the Black Hills. Next slide. I fell in love with, next slide, John. I fell in love with the landscape and the fact that there are amazing bike trails. I bought a couple of acres of raw land just outside the small college town of Spearfish on the very western edge of South Dakota. I planned to move there when I retired. I made numerous trips to Spearfish and got acquainted with the Black Hills and my future neighborhood. Oh, sorry. Spearfish Creek descends from springs high in the Black Hills and runs north. Over the eons, the creek has formed the majestic Spearfish Canyon, which is older than the Grand Canyon. The creek rushes through the very center of the small town of Spearfish, cold, clear water dashing over and around boulders. There is a narrow bike path on each side of Highway 14 as the road parallels the creek through the canyon. This route is acclaimed as one of the nation's top 5 scenic bike paths. When I turned 50, I promised myself I would get back on my bike and ride up the beautiful but challenging 13 miles of the canyon. I had driven 14A many times during my visits to Spearfish, and I was jealous of the bicyclists I saw having a great ride next to the creek in Spearfish Canyon. It took enormous fortitude at the age of 50 to whip my body back into biking shape. I took a couple of vacation days from work, and the first Friday in August of 1990, packed my camping gear, strapped my bike onto its carrier, and set out for adventure. Destination, Spearfish Canyon. When I merged onto Interstate 90 in Worthington going west, I was amazed by all the motorcycles also going west on the freeway. There were large trailers carrying many cycles, bands of male cyclists, cycles carrying two people with a small cart behind. What was going on? Oh no! Oh no! Oh no! Oh no! That's what was going on. I had heard about this wild get-together of Hell's Angels and other motorcycle gangs from all over the country. And since Spearfish is only 20 miles west of Sturgis, I would be in the midst of motorcycle madness and mayhem. Forget this, I'm turning around and going home. No, I can do it. I can do it. I will do it. I get to do it. I will stay out of their way and totally ignore them. I'll pretend I don't even exist. I finally found a vacant campsite southwest of Spearfish and prepared to be invisible to the dangerous motorcyclists all around me. Perhaps I should sleep in the car and not even bother setting up my tent. As I was debating what to do, two of the vicious gang members slowly approached and asked if I wanted their help putting up my tent. They were fun, friendly, middle-aged men getting away for an adventure just as I slept quite well in my tent. My misadventure was beginning to become an adventure. The next morning I drove into Spearfish, got on my bike and set off on the narrow bike lane going 13 miles up the canyon along busy Highway 14. The altitude rises over 2,000 feet in those 13 miles. It was originally built as a railway, so it climbs at a steady grade of just 3%. That does not sound steep, but after a few miles, my muscles were asking, are we there yet? The speed limit on the highway is only 35, so as I made my ascent, motorcyclists passed me slowly enough to, without fail, honk, whistle, or shout encouragement and urge me on. I later found out this was the 50th year of the rally, and an estimated 400,000 people attended. So the Black Hills became Motorcycle Hills. Sherry Benedict told me that her ancestors started the first rally. I won't share with you how long it took me to bike those 13 miles, but I finally stumbled into the bar at the hotel in the tiny town of Savoy. I was greeted with shouts and whistles, a standing ovation, and offers of free beer. Yes, yes. What a reception and fun reward. Everyone offered congratulations. I was so proud of myself. Then the best part of the ride, going down, faster and faster, racing along with the rushing creek, hoping my old brakes would hold me. I could hear Daddy yelling, "Brake, kitty, brake!" I did not see another bicyclist during my Sturgis Rally adventure, as bicycling folks knew to stay away. I've ridden that section of Highway 14 a few more times, but never during Sturgis Motorcycle Rally. Each time I rode the canyon was an adventure, but I must say I missed the company of the friendly motorcyclists who were enjoying the magnificent hills of South Dakota. With Spearfish Canyon bike rides under my belt, I decided a couple of years later to attempt part of the Mickelson Bike Trail, which runs a bit over 100 miles through almost the entire length of the hills. Oh, oh, oh. I would do one section of it that didn't appear too difficult, and so began my misadventure. This trail, unlike the Spearfish Canyon Trail, doesn't use a bike lane along a busy highway with folks available to help if you have a problem, but it goes through secluded forest and ranch land. I had to watch out for cattle standing on the trail. I stayed in Hill City and took a shuttle with a young couple up to a trailhead about 30 miles north of Hill City. Chatting with them, I learned that the trail's not challenging until the last 5 miles, where a couple of very steep sections, but I wouldn't have any problem making it the 30 miles back to Hill City. I appreciated the heads up, but they neglected to mention the most difficult and for me impossible part of the trail. I suffer from claustrophobia and I'm always on guard not to be confined. It's terribly uncomfortable for me to even put a t-shirt on over my head. So began my dreadful adventure. I had not checked the trail's terrain and was shocked when I approached a tunnel. It was only about 50 miles long and I could see straight through to the other end, so no problem. A few miles later, there was another tunnel. It was longer, but I could see bright daylight at the end, so I was not concerned. Even now. Then there was the tunnel. It was so long, all I could see was a pinprick of light at the other end. I came to find out later it was over 700 feet long. Well, now what? How could I possibly get through this black hole and get back to Hill City? I considered dragging my 40-pound bike through the forest and over the hill, but that was not physically possible. Maybe I could turn around and bike back to where the shuttle had dropped us off on the highway and hitch a ride to Hill City. Well, that was probably 25 miles back and it would be dark. Oh, even now. This was in September and I knew few people were on the trail. The young couple who had taken the shuttle with me had gone on ahead. I was alone. I stepped into the mouth of the tunnel and the darkness actually started to wrap around my body. Well, here I was stuck until another biker would come along, and who could tell when that would be. Try as I might, I could not force my body to enter that black tunnel. I'd have to spend the night here and bike back in the morning. There are no bears in the hills, but there are mountain lions. I didn't expect to get any sleep. Then there was a woman standing next to me. Without a word, we entered the tunnel together. She didn't have a light, but I could feel her near me, and she walked fast enough so my bike wouldn't tip over. She didn't speak, but she was right at my side. Things which were going to suffocate me in that tunnel backed off. Her presence was enough to keep me calm, so I was able to bike through the cold darkness. We emerged into glorious daylight. I turned to thank her, I was alone. Imagination is a resourceful tool when you need to survive such a challenge. She was real when I needed her, but I know she was my mind helping me out of what could have been a bad misadventure. I joyfully rode the last few miles into Hill City. You know, when my boys tell me to give them my car keys, I will sadly oblige. But getting up my bike is going to be an entirely different situation. So, thank you all for. Oh, I forgot, Miss Piggy. She said she sends you all her best regards. So, thank you.